Hey, KU fans, welcome back to KU Sports Extra here at KUsports.com with Benton A. Smith. I am Matt C. Tate, and we are here to talk about a all of a sudden rare Kansas L.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
OT. You want to throw that little
OT. There you go. Just using letters. Letters. I'm over words. I'm just going to start using letters. No, I think you could use a lot of words to describe this game tonight. Good words, bad words, crazy words. It was a hell of a game, and obviously Kansas came out just a little bit short, 75-72 in overtime in Austin, Texas. Yes, that snaps KU's 5-game winning streak. Yes, that makes Shaka Smart's Longhorns only the second team in Self's 18 seasons at Kansas to sweep the Jayhawks in a regular season series. Those are both significant things, but Benton, I don't know about you. I just can't subscribe to the idea that KU should be walking out of there devastated. Yeah, they wanted to win. Yeah, I'm sure it stings tonight, but I think yet again this team showed that they have the capability of playing with some pretty good teams. They've still got to do some things and tighten up some things to beat those teams, but man, that was a good game. Texas is a good team, and Kansas was right freaking there.
Yeah, I mean, if the thing that you are disappointed about is that you had a double-digit lead even early in the second half, and you let it get to overtime, and you lost in overtime. It's not that you lost because, I mean, like you mentioned, this was actually a really good game, and it's two top 15 teams in the country basically going toe-to-toe. They each had their runs, and I mean, it honestly, KU was incredible in the first half, and that it could have gone the other way really quickly because McCormick was out of the game within 3 minutes, and KU kind of found its footing with 5 guards, and before long they were up 14 points before the break. So I think that's the one part that they probably left. That's what they were discouraged about, is that they really could have won this game on the road, and instead they ended up going to overtime because the defense didn't hold up in the second half, and they weren't playing with the kind of same movement and same ball movement on offense in the second half that helped them build up that lead early. So those are the things that they'll leave disappointed about. But no, they shouldn't leave disappointed that they lost in overtime by 3 to a really good team that's more athletic than them. So
boy, was that on full display. I mean, these even more so than in Lawrence. See, in Lawrence, the Longhorns made 12 of 26 threes, and that was a big part of the reason they won. They didn't absolutely dominate inside like they did tonight. 14 dunks made KU think about almost everything that happened in the paint, which was all the more reason to be impressed by that stretch that you talked about where KU built that 14-point first half lead. KU didn't care. They took it right at them. And a lot of it was transition and easy points off of those types of looks. But there was still Marcus Garrett went right at him. Jalen Wilson went right at him. Christian Brown went right at him. I mean, it was really weird because early on in this game, it looked like Texas was flexing its muscles and saying, hey, yeah, we're here. We're long. We're going to make your night miserable. And then KU went to that 5-guard look, and it just totally – I guess they just started to play like they had nothing to lose. It's like, well, we're a bunch of small dudes out here now. You're going to have the size on us at every position almost. Let's see what you got. And they played hard, and they bounced, and they played with a little swagger. I thought that they looked as good in that stretch as they have maybe all year. So that's what they look at. They're going to focus on that stuff. And tonight it seems like they lost, and the plane ride home will suck and all that. But I think by the morning they'll look back at that and say, how do we do more of that? How can we be that team? And it's a hard question to answer because you didn't see a whole lot of that 5-guard look in the second half. But I think you did see a lot of things that Bill Self just again showed that he can get this team still where they want to go. I mean, going to that zone when Texas was just killing them with dunks and dunks and dunks. And then I think he got 3 or 4 possessions of missed threes. That's a subtle thing, but in a game like that goes to OT and is a 1-possession game, it's a massive, massive chess move right there. So I thought there were a couple instances of that tonight, and ultimately, I just think they just didn't have enough winning plays, right? Did anybody stand out to you? Obviously, Ochai hit the 5 threes. That was big, but very quiet in the second half. Who stood out to you most for KU?
Well, I mean, if you're just going to kind of leave it broad like that, I would say Bryce Thompson in the first half, just how important he was. He had a couple of breakaway dunks, leaked out on one of them, but timed it perfectly so that it worked out for KU. But he was great, and obviously they weren't able to kind of get that same spark from him or really from anybody in the second half. It seemed to me like when KU went with those 5 guards in the first half, that's not something that Texas is going to prepare for, because that's not how KU usually plays. And it just kind of happened that way because McCormick got in foul trouble, and then, Sims got in foul trouble too. So basically both teams had lost their starting 5. And so they just said, hey, let's play small for a while. And Texas didn't handle it. And I think they kind of seemed a little shell-shocked at first. And once they got over that, obviously they turned a corner and, got back to what makes them so good this year, which is just like amazing athletes all over the floor, pressure on the perimeter, erase your shots when you get into the paint. So they're a really good team. But yeah, I mean, as far as KU and, who stood out, I think that's probably why they end up losing this game. Because, I mean, in the second half, no one really stood out. And you mentioned Ochai earlier. Great first half, hit 4 of those threes in the first half. And then Thompson was big in the first half. But, I mean, nobody really, other than maybe Jalen Wilson getting rebounds and Christian Brown just playing hard as hell.
Right.
I mean, those are the 2 guys that probably come to mind for the second half.
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Both of those guys continue to show great effort. I mean, Jalen Wilson with 13 boards, another double-double. Self said after this game, we just can't have Jalen Wilson be our leading rebounder. We got to get our bigs playing big. And you and I were talking before we hit record. There's no reason that Jalen Wilson can't continue to be the leading rebounder.
Yeah.
Because he's their best rebounder. Right? Like,
that
dude, effort-wise, body positioning, and then if you just watch him go grab the ball. I mean, watch this game back and spend some time watching the way Jalen Wilson rebounds the ball with his hands. I mean, they are so strong. He is ripping it out of the air. You go watch David McCormick do that. It's not there. It's just a totally different approach, and that's not a knock on Dave. I mean, he would do well to be more like Wilson in that way, but you are who you are. But yeah, I just think there's nothing wrong with Jalen Wilson being your best rebounder when he can go get 13 of them. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's just how he plays. Like he's going to go get those rebounds. And I mean, sometimes it's because David McCormick is, kind of boxing out somebody near Jalen Wilson. And sometimes David McCormick's not on the floor and Jalen Wilson is just getting all the rebounds. But in both scenarios, Jalen Wilson is getting all the rebounds.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. He's the best rebounder on the team.
Simple math. Speaking of math, listen, Texas won by 25 in Lawrence, and they win by 3 tonight. As much as a loss is a loss is a loss, just like it was then. Self said after losing by 25, if you lose by 3 or you lose by 25, it's still a loss. So maybe he was predicting the future. But I think that the indication is that, hey, they're 22 points better than they were that night. And I don't think that's crazy to say. I mean, they certainly have come a long way as a team. And I think this is a team that will shake this one off and say, yeah, losing sucks, but we're used to it. We've taken some losses this year. What'd we learn from it? And I think that was the message in the post game. It seemed like they were really focused, Self especially, on what can we pick and choose from this game that can help us? And the rest of it, throw away, who cares, doesn't matter. Could we have done better rebounding? Could we have shot more free throws or made more free throws? All that stuff's yes. But does it matter? No, it doesn't. You focus on the things you did well. You try to fine tune those and find ways that those can take your advantage or make a bigger advantage for you. I think the cool thing too, Texas shot exactly the same number of 3-pointers in this game as they did in Lawrence, 26. They made 12 here, and they made 5 tonight. So just incrementally, you keep seeing these steps. Is 3-point defense something we've talked about with this team for the last couple of weeks? You bet. Does tonight's effort show that that's gotten better? You bet. So there's just, if you want to look at it that way, and I know not everybody does, but if you want to look at it that way, there's enough there that shows, hey, this team is good enough to play with anybody. The problem is there's also enough there tonight to show that this team could still struggle against anybody. And you know, they're not what they were in January, but they're still not fully where they need to be. What do you want to see from this team Saturday against the best team they're going to play? I mean, even better than this Texas team, different but better. What do you need to see that'll tell you, hey, these guys are ready for March, or they're not? I mean, is there anything that jumps out immediately?
Well, I mean, if it seems like, you know, throughout the past couple of months, KU will always go through these lulls offensively, and that's
Sure.
kind of what hurt them in the second half. I mean, their defense fell off in the second half too, because Texas went back to, you know, just like layup lines and dunk lines there for a little while. And I mean, they were getting to the free throw line. I mean, they were the aggressor, and everything that you wanted offensively you were getting if you were Texas there for a little bit. So that to me was a little uncharacteristic for how KU has been playing, kind of surprising. So that needs to shore up. But you're facing a different type of personnel when you're facing Baylor. I mean, you know, they don't have necessarily that kind of crazy athleticism that this Texas team does across the board, but they also are an outstanding team, and they will just execute you know, in the half court. And I don't know. I guess they had a tough game tonight, so maybe there will be some rust, and that game suddenly looks a lot more interesting.
It does. And, you know, maybe
Baylor had to come back to win against Iowa State, and they hadn't played in 3 weeks.
That's what I was going to say. Maybe that was the rust. And now maybe they feel their feet a little bit quicker and better on Saturday. But, yeah, I mean, KU will show up and be ready to fight just like they did tonight. I mean, I think that's the best way you could describe this one tonight. It was a fight, man, and they were up to the challenge. They didn't make enough plays to win. They didn't execute when they had to, but if you were judging this thing like a boxing match, it would have been a draw or a split decision. I mean, it was a couple of teams that were just throwing everything they had at the other one, and somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. That's life. But I don't think either side knocked the other out or knocked the other down or anything like that. Maybe a couple stunned jabs in each side, you know. But yeah. I think you'd walk out of there and you'd say, let's see what happens if these two teams play again, because I don't even know what to expect. If they played again in the Big 12 tournament, I don't know what you would expect. I think it would look a lot like tonight, though. I think it would look a lot more like tonight than it would the first game in Lawrence. Texas, bottom line, just a bad matchup for KU. Bad matchup for a lot of teams, but a really bad matchup for KU. And KU almost found a way to get it done. So enough there to like some things you don't like, but I don't think their momentum, I don't think the positive and vibe and the confidence that they've gained in the last 2 weeks by this 5-game winning streak, I don't think it has to be gone just like that. I think they can still feel really good about where they're at and take that into Saturday. And good Lord, if they could find a way to get that one, this one won't matter at all, you know. So they've still got a lot of opportunity, even though there's only one game left in this regular season. A lot of opportunity. And then it's postseason time. Any final thoughts, Benton, even though I rambled through all of them there and you possibly couldn't have anything left? What do you got?
I mean, this is obviously the biggest game of the season coming up. You know, KU has kind of righted the ship. They've got one Big 12 game left. They might play again after that. But, I mean, this is the one that everyone has been waiting for. This is the Baylor team that's undefeated, and they're coming to KU. And, I mean, I expect kind of a game like we saw tonight, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a lot different than the one we saw when KU played down in Waco when Baylor was rolling and KU was kind of teetering. So it should be a completely different vibe to this game, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it's a big game. Like, KU's whole goal was to go finish second, right? And they can't do that now, but they could finish 5th or 6th if they don't win Saturday. And that's a whole different set of territory there. So still plenty to play for. The vibe about, you know, what kind of team you're taking into the postseason, you have a chance to set that as a really good team if you can go find a way to win on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see what the crowd's like. It'll be interesting to see what kind of momentum the team brings. And, you know, they got to get off to a good start again. They did tonight. But again, and I think we talked about this last time, the good start was good, right? 7-1, 9-3. I mean, you know, it was a good start. but it wasn't necessarily because of David McCormick. And that's a different thing. When he gets off to a good start like he did against Texas Tech, you see what that does for this team as a whole. That didn't happen tonight. That allowed Texas to kind of weather that early storm and then figure it out from there. So wild game. It was perfect that it went to overtime because that's the kind of game it was. It was just an absolute fight. And obviously KU didn't throw the last punch or land it anyway. So 75-72, KU falls at Texas. They fall to, 17-8 and 11-6 in Big 12 play. Again, 8 losses, more than you're used to seeing, but no one's going to call this one a bad loss either. So that trend continues. And frankly, if you lose on Saturday to the number 2 team in the country who's undefeated, no one's going to call that one a bad loss either. So, it's just a weird season, and there's still a heck of a lot ahead. So it's going to be fun to see how this goes. For Benton Smith, I'm Matt Tate. That's KU Sports Extra tonight. KU falls at Texas 75-72 in overtime. Thanks for checking out this episode. We'll talk to you guys again real soon.